Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
This show is brought to you by Audible. They are the leading provider of spoken audio information and entertainment. You know I'm a huge Audible fan because you can listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Whether you're at the beach, the gym, or stuck in traffic, there's nothing quite like Audible. Go to audiblepodcast.com/Lutz and sign up today. You are listening to the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT. We've been away for a bit, sold the house in New York, severed all remaining contacts there except with my two wonderful daughters. Can't seem to persuade them, make them understand that New York is not the place to be. But one person who figured that out long ago and fled for greener pastures and rockier mountain highs is Andy Hoffman. Andy, how you doing there?
Good, and don't forget the floods that we're having here, which is remarkable since we've had 2 years of drought to have these historic floods, which have been quite horrible to the Boulder area.
It's the geoengineering, the chemtrails and all that stuff.
Well, I don't know what it is, but to see it, an area where it never rains, to have rain like we've had in the past week, it's truly awe-inspiring.
Yeah, so you're having like major floods in the mountain state there?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, where I am, I'm far enough away from the mountains and streams that we just had some bad roads. But from Boulder and into the mountains, catastrophic damage. It's what Mother Nature can do. Supersedes everything. And my prayers out to anyone who's stuck up there still.
Wow. I heard something about flooding, but, it's over there. It's 2,000 miles away. We have other things to worry about here. Speaking of things to worry about, well, we no longer have Larry Summers to kick around, do we?
It's just amazing to me. I'm just so tired of listening to the MSM, A, get things wrong, and B, throw out propaganda. For months, Janet Yellen, who's basically the number one Fed kiss ass, who's there to basically print money as told, and it was the heir apparent to the job. She was going to be it, and then all of a sudden Larry Summers came out of left field, and he was, according to polls on Friday by the expert gurus, he was a 90% shoo-in to take the job. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why would they want him there? I mean, yeah, he's, quote, experienced. He was a Treasury Secretary. He worked for Obama as an economic advisor. But pretty much everything the guy has done has been a big failure, and he's a really despised personality around Washington and the financial community. So I'm not sure why they were even thinking about him. But even crazier was the fact they were saying, well, he's hawkish. And the market wanted Janet Yellen because she's more dovish. And I'm going, what on earth has this guy ever done in his career that has been the slightest bit hawkish? He was Obama's chief advisor from the first term, where all they did was print money and bail out everything in sight, and he never made a peep otherwise. Yet somehow it's claimed that he was hawkish. So this morning, naturally, when he magically withdraws over the weekend, just after this video goes viral about him, evidence of him having secret illegal meetings with all the big banks, he withdraws, and it says, market's soaring because Summers is gone. And bonds are soaring, the rates should come down because he was hawkish. And of course, here we are halfway into the trading day, and bonds are now getting crushed again and moving right back up toward 290 again. There's nothing hawkish about him or any of these guys, and there's nothing that's going to save the Treasury market. And boy, I can't wait till the Fed comes out on Wednesday and tries to even tinker with the concept of tapering with Treasury market falling apart.
Yeah, that tapering thing is just, they love these buzzwords that the media can sink their teeth into. And tapering, it makes me think of liposuction. Somehow you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to lose pounds and pounds and pounds without having to alter your diet or change anything, because through the magic of lasers and technology, we're just going to get rid of all that weight. And it just can't be done. And it's the same thing here. You just can't shut off the money spigot and think that nothing is going to happen.
Well, yeah, they use the term debt ceiling when there is, in fact, no debt ceiling. In fact, I see the headline here today again with this, Obama will not negotiate on the debt ceiling. Last I knew, he had to negotiate. There was Congress involved, but he's not going to negotiate. And we're not going to have a debt ceiling. We never will. Then we had the fiscal cliff, which of course, all those cuts, the sequester cuts, were cut down to nothing. So there really was no fiscal cliff. They just kept printing money. And then for the last 3 or 4 years, we've heard of exit strategy for the Fed, which has now turned into tapering. But there's never been an exit strategy, and there's not going to be any tapering. And I don't care if they say, well, instead of buying $85 billion a month, we'll just buy $75 billion a month. That's not anything. That doesn't even qualify as tapering. It's the most incredibly large money printing scheme of all time. And by the way, it's just tip of the iceberg, because who knows how much of it where they're not telling us about. There's a whole history of them doing things that they're not telling us about. And frankly, they can't taper because Treasury market is falling apart. Interest rates are going up everywhere. That's why durable goods, housing starts, you name it, across the board. Consumer confidence Friday was the biggest miss that they've ever had in history. This is all because interest rates are rising. They can't taper. I mean, I was listening to Eric Sprott the other day saying, yeah, maybe they'll taper, but they'll say it'll start in December. Or they'll taper a little bit and they'll say, yes, but all other tapering will be on hold for now. Whatever it is, they're going to come out and do nothing that's going to make any material changes. They must save the Treasury market because it holds up the entire world, and it's falling apart right now.
Yeah, without that Treasury market, that's kind of the end of things, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're seeing it already. The economic data is free-falling. And by the way, all this data we're seeing, like last month's horrible NFP report, and that's fudged on the upside to start with. Think about what it's going to look like in the next couple of months now that interest rates are higher and housing activity is falling. Even the BEA, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, admitted that a full half of all economic activity for the last 4 quarters was dependent on the housing market and related, whether it's furniture, whether it's mortgages, you name it. All this stuff is ground to a halt. You know that the refinancing index is down 75% since May, since that stupid first comment about maybe we'll taper if the economy maybe starts showing some signs of light. So all that stuff is going to get much, much worse in the coming months, much, much worse. And that's why the concept of tapering at all, let alone of a material amount, is just pure comical. Or the fact that it really matters whether Larry Summers or Janet Yellen or Superman is in charge of the Fed.
So we're past the point of redemption, in other words.
Well, we've been past the point of redemption for a long, long time. But now we're at the point where diminishing returns is so vicious that anything they do makes things worse. The best thing the Fed could do, frankly, is just shut the heck up and go their own way and let things fall apart without them vocally trying to support it, because that's, it's going whether they say something or not. And frankly, anything they do could backfire. They could very well say, oh yeah, we're smart, we're not going to taper. That'll really save the day because the market will go up. And the next thing you know, treasuries collapse even further because A, we know the Chinese and Japanese are selling and they don't really give a hoot whether there's tapering or not. And 2, because the entire world is starting to see their currencies fall apart at the hands of the Fed's money printing and are going to be even more fearful that the dollar is going to collapse. So whatever they do is going to hurt. And if Benny is smart, he'll just shut the heck up and do nothing.
Yeah, well, they've run out of options, in other words. And that leads us to the Comex inventory picture, which is about as bleak as the Fed's money printing operation, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is a tribute to their to this cartel, which doing its thing again, even after the new news that's come out this weekend about the Andrew Maguire manipulation. It really is a tribute to them that they've been able to keep the game going this far. Because as you say, the registered inventories in the Comex, because again, there's 2 types of inventories, is registered and eligible. Eligible is actually not eligible. It's a misnomer. It's gold, like my gold at Brinks in Canada, that would be eligible. It's not yours. You can't get it anyway. They are simply storing it for a client. The registered is the amount that's kind of in the pool that if you buy a futures contract and want to take delivery, it's there for the taking. And before they started their shenanigans in April, remember what I call the alternative currencies destruction, where in 2 days in the middle of April, gold fell $200 an ounce and Bitcoin went to nothing and silver fell $5 an ounce, all based on absolutely, utterly nothing. When that happened, all of a sudden the registered inventory started plummeting. There were 3 million ounces on the Comex in April when that happened. And today there's only 665,000 ounces. That's a 78% decline in the gold that can be taken, in just 4 month period. That's worth about $1 billion, which is chump change. The Fed prints that every hour. And of course you have the, silver, which is also about $1 billion worth. There's almost no inventory left on the Comex. And at this pace, there will be no inventory left come next spring.
How did this happen?
It's because people are fearful. Maybe you can go back to when the Germans asked I don't even know when it was, 12 months ago, 9 months ago, when they asked for their gold that the Fed was supposedly storing for them in New York. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll give it to you in 7 years, in something that should take 7 weeks. So clearly they don't have it. People are fearful. And now that they see all these shenanigans going on, people are just not believing that they're ever going to get their gold. That's why we've been in backwardation in the gold market, which should never happen, for something like 6 or 7 weeks now, why we have negative gold forward offered rates right now. Basically, people don't want to buy futures contracts anymore because they don't believe they're going to get real gold in the future.
It reminds me of that saying from the 60s, question authority. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, the open interest has been plunging. We're at record high levels and even with that, we're at record high levels of open interest relative to the amount of gold that's there. And that's with open interest falling on the Comex. There's just that little gold that's there. It's really incredible to think that all the gold in the world is being bought in the Eastern Hemisphere, yet all of the price discovery still happens in this stupid Comex, where there's literally only $1 billion worth of gold, which there are 1,500 individuals in the world that are worth more than that.
Yeah, and you could name them if you really wanted to. So up next, I want to talk about Syria, what happened there, and why it did. On the Financial Survival Network, I'm Kerry Lutz with Andrew Hoffman, 1230 WBZT. I want to welcome our new sponsor, Audible. I've been listening to audiobooks from them for over 5 years now. I am a huge Audible fan. In fact, I've bought multiple Platinum memberships. Platinum membership, you buy 25 audiobooks at a time. I just got done listening to the first 3 or 4 books of the Jack Reacher series, the one you probably saw, or maybe you didn't, in the theater, Tom Cruise movie. I mean, just a wonderful book, wonderful series, expertly narrated, and so many times I'm in the car, I get sick of listening to music or news or the radio. I just put my iPod on, plays the book, and makes that trip go by so quickly. To me, this is one of the great things of the information revolution of the internet, is that you can get over 100,000 books on your iPad or iPod or iPhone instantly. Another thing that they have is courses on Audible, the Modern Scholar series. And I've listened to lectures about World War I, Shakespeare, nanotechnology, detective novels. It's so enlightening. To me, Audible is a must-have killer app for the iPhone, the iPad, for my computer, wherever I am. I'm always downloading these books. Like I say, they're a sponsor, so check them out. They've got a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial membership. Just sign up at www.audiblepodcast.com/Lutz, Lutz. Again, audiblepodcast.com/Lutz. Sign up today. Like I say, this to me is a dream sponsor. These are exactly the types of things that I like to pass on to you because I'm such a fanatical, over-the-top Audible user. 5-6 years I've been listening, hundreds of books. I used to think I was a well-read person, and it's a little strange when somebody asks you, did you read that book? And you have to say, well, somebody actually read it to me, but they actually did a better job than I could have, so I don't mind it. But my friend Sean Perger up in Vancouver, he listens to almost as many as I do, and he can't get enough. I know you're going to love this company, love their service. I do. So check them out. audiblepodcast.com/Lutz. We're back. FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz with Andrew Hoffman, 1230 WBZT. So, Andy, we were absolutely certain a couple weeks ago that we were going to war in Syria, and yet a funny thing happened on the way to the air raid, didn't it?
Well, look, we desperately want to. I don't mean we, meaning you and I. I mean, Obama administration, they really want this war. They need it to distract the people from what's going on. That is a collapsing economy and now a collapsing treasury market that needs more money printing to support it. They need a distraction. They need something to spend money on. And that's why I'm not going to judge all what exactly happened in Syria, but let's face it, there's as much proof that there was this chemical attack and it was done by Assad as there was of Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. Heck, they made these allegations before there was even what do you call it? Not NATO.
UN.
United Nations investigation into it. That's how much they want this war. And unfortunately, our nemesis, the Russians, outsmarted us and made us temporarily back away from it. So we'll have to find another way to start a war. But the fact is, again, I can't emphasize enough, the mainstream media, the propaganda, just love to say stuff like gold was down because we didn't have a war in Syria. No, gold was gold had recovered from 1180 to 1385 on August 19th. So the day that the alleged attack happened, which we didn't even hear about for a couple of days, gold had already pretty much made its entire run up, and the same with silver. It barely went up afterwards. So it has nothing to do with gold. Yes, they started smashing afterward because they were worried about the big run. And of course, they wrote in the paper it was because of Syria. It has nothing to do with Syria. The fact is, they are more scared because of what's going on in the treasury market and the Comex inventories and all that gold that's leaving the LBMA and going to the Swiss refiners to be sent out east. And all the currencies that are collapsing against the dollar, meaning every single currency right now is in free fall, that they just are desperately looking for any reason to make up to hit it. But the fact is, the more that they hit it, the more that physical response occurs, the more the miners go out of business, the more the production declines, and the more people are fearful. And now you have this new Andrew Maguire allegation that came out this weekend that he has 2 more JP Morgan whistleblowers who have been working with the CFTC for the past 15 months with huge evidence of manipulation of gold and silver, which the CFTC has been sitting on this entire time, waiting for the statute of limitations on their investigation to run out this month.
Funny how that works. I thought the government was here to help us and to protect our rights and to see to it that we didn't get ripped off by these big corporations. And now you're telling me that ain't so, huh?
Well, I've been saying that for a long time, as you have, of course. Look, the government is in business to stay in power. That's just like, any politician's job is to get reelected. The powers that be, their job is to stay in power because they get money and wealth and perks, and it's fun. And some people are actually sadistic and like to just rule over other people with their iron fist. So right now, they're just doing their best to kick the can as far as they possibly can. And, each day those diminishing returns are hitting them even harder in the head. Like this, it took, an hour before all the headlines about, heck, I saw headlines, Wall Street says that Summers not being the chair should lower Treasury yields by 50 basis points. And I'm going, did they really make that up? Are there speechwriters in the cartel that write up stuff this stupid? And here we are, just, halfway into trading day, and already Treasuries are renewing their plunge.
Yeah, you know what this is like, Andy, and I don't want people really get upset when I talk about this, but, to me, the myth of global warming has been totally debunked. All of those ClimateGate emails showed that they lied about it, and it's fictitious. It all deals with sunspots, cycles, all that stuff. And yet, the propaganda mills from the corporate propaganda departments still put out these ridiculous reports. Oh, global warming, it's going to cause 2/3 of the world's populations to have one leg shorter than the other. And I look at these reports and I just shake my head and say, this is out and out garbage. It has no basis in fact. It is made up news. And this is exactly what the financial news has devolved into. It is totally detached from any reason, from any fact. It is fiction.
Yeah, it's a disease that's caught the entire Western world. When you're preaching to morons, it's easy to be a moron because no one's questioning. No one's even reading anymore. No one's like, if Yahoo Finance is writing something, who's even reading this stuff anymore? Nobody. No one has any money in the stock market, so no one's making money on stocks. No one owns homes anymore. No one's making money on houses, even though now they're falling in price again. And certainly no one could care less about what Obama or any of the political guys are talking about right now, because they've lied about everything and they've been wrong about everything.
Yeah.
So, you might as well just say anything. Yeah. It's like we're talking this morning about this shooting in Washington. It's like, and we're supposed to focus about the 10 people in Washington. Does anyone care about the 6,000 people that died in Iraq for no reason? How about the million Iraqis, or the 3 million Vietnamese, or the people in all the other places we're attacking? How about in Libya? How about in Syria, the people we're trying to kill? No one cares about them. They just want something that gets their best ratings, and a shooting in Washington gets better ratings than the million people killed in Iraq.
Hey, my best friend, who's a bit of a Kool-Aid drinker for the current occupant in office, and he's an intelligent guy, but go figure. He says, "Oh, are you going to watch the president's speech dealing with Syria?" I said, "Why? Why would I ever watch?" First of all, it's a speech, okay? So I don't watch speeches because I find them filled with lies, and they're boring, and I got better things to do with my time. And the other thing is, I don't believe anything that they have said about anything. I said, "Do you know for a fact that that the government gassed these people? Do you believe that for a fact? Do you know this? Because I don't." And no, I don't know it. I said, "Well, I'm sure you have something better to do with your time than to watch this crap. You must have something better." And so he says, "Well, I got to go." I said, "Yeah, so do I. Goodbye."
You know what I was saying? Someone sent me an email the other day. It's like a little YouTube video, and it's like people who believe in whatever Obama wants. And again, I'm not talking with someone who hates Obama versus the Republicans or whatever. I couldn't care less. But the point is, it was like, yes, we want a war in Syria because Obama says it's the right thing to do, and we will do whatever he says.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people who believe the same thing for Republicans, and a lot of people believe the same thing for anything. You can believe that the Chicago Cubs are the greatest baseball team ever if you're a big fan, just because you're a big fan. You don't have to see the fact that they haven't won in 100 years. And the same goes for believing anything that these guys say in their speeches or what they do, let alone what they say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just a crock, and these are people who should know better. They just should know better.
Well, it's about hope, and that's why Obama used hope and change, which it seems so shallow, because it's what every politician says. But people really gravitate to those words because the world is getting more difficult, and they want change, and they desperately want hope. And so if someone says it and they say it charismatically, sure. You know who else said that? Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini. They all said that they're going to do hope and change. I'm sure Stalin said it too. And people who are far less evil than those guys too, because that's what people need, especially in bad times. They need hope that there's going to be change. And guess what? They ain't getting any.
Yeah, well, the only change they're going to get is the change they weren't hoping for. You could be sure of that. And it just, people don't learn. And if they read history closely, not as it was spoon-fed to them to further an agenda, you'd really understand that this has all been done before. It's all been played. There's nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this stuff, Andy, for thousands of years. And, you know, the really shocking part is that you never see people wise up. You just don't learn. You know, the old Who song, "We Won't Get Fooled Again." Well, you keep getting fooled again and again. And the amazing thing is they don't even think about trying to fool you again. They just come right out and do it, and you fall for it.
Yeah, well, I guess it's part of human nature to listen. I mean, we're probably the unique independent thinkers, and the people listening to the show are among the minority. But you know, our goal is to convert just 1 or 2% of the world to our independent type thinking. That's all I can ever hope for. And when it comes to precious metals, that's all there's going to be room for, because there's so little metal out there.
Yeah, less and less every day, regardless what anyone out there says. That's the fact of the matter. You got a limited amount of time and an ever limited amount of money to pursue it with. You better do it shortly, because time is running out. Agreed. Anyway, milesfranklin.com. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Andy and I have been doing this a long time. We'll keep doing it until the fiat money machine blows up. That's our pledge to you. And Andy, same time next week, and we are back from New York, from the People's Republic, that Stalinist theme park run by the mad midget megalomaniac known as Nanny Bloomberg. He'll be gone soon. It's only got a few more months left, and
but better to him than Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, well, did you see him after the election? He flipped off the press. That was the best part of the whole election, him giving the finger to the press.
I'll just make one more comment just about Anthony Weiner, because I didn't know this guy from a hole in the wall until this whole sexting scandal. I thought that he was going to be, some humble guy. He caters to the Jewish vote in New York. I don't think there's any more unlikable person in the entire East Coast. How on earth he became a congressman, let alone to be just left in disgrace and then to almost win the mayoral vote in New York, shows that even New Yorkers are out of their mind.
Especially New Yorkers. I mean, you can only breathe so much carbon monoxide, Andy, and then it's going to cause brain damage. That much I can tell you.
Very good. Okay.
All right, Ann. You be well. We'll talk to you soon.
Great.
Hi, it's Kerry Lutz. I recently decided to move my retirement account into physical precious metals to hedge against the coming times. If you want to move an existing retirement account into physical precious metals that you can hold in your hand, tax-free, there's no company that can do it more quickly and efficiently than Regal Assets. It took them just 24 hours to open my new IRA account, and all I had to do was fill out one simple form. The best part is that Regal Assets does all the work for you. They cover the setup and administrative costs for 2013. If you're interested in making the same move I did, call 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620. That's 855-678-6620, or visit them at regalassets.com. You'll be glad you did, and tell them Kerry sent you.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com.